welcome back to another Hot Takes video. And before we get to yours, I got one, and it's that Brock Lesnar is going to join the Vision group. And on top of that, I also think that he's going to win the World Heavyweight Championship, whether that be ruining CM Punk's moment at Survivor Series or beating CM Punk shortly after he wins at Survivor Series. But the point is that he's going to join the group and dominate once again as the World Heavyweight Champion. So I'm sorry, Seth Rollins, but you are going to be replaced very soon. Moving on to your hot takes, and the first one says that we're now in the Seth Rollins reign of terror. This was obviously before this injury, and we don't really know the extent of this injury and if he's going to be out of action, but what we do know is that there is a growing belief that Seth Rollins and his world title reign was not that enjoyable, and I gotta disagree with this hot take. I think that Seth Rollins has been doing a fine job as the world champion. I thought his cash-in was really good stuff, and on top of that too, he's been putting on some great matches. Just look at his match with Cody Rhodes from the last pay-per-view at Crown Jewel. That was an absolute banger, and I think the only problem was keeping Seth Rollins and CM Punk together. But if you took him away from CM Punk, I think there could have been some great matches that we could have seen. Unfortunately, it seems like the Seth injury is worse than we think, and he's going to be out of action for some time. And it's not just Seth Rollins, because the next hot take says that Cody and Seth need to drop their titles right now. It's getting frustrating since they became champions, and I've seen more and more people say this on Twitter. A lot of people online, at least, are unhappy with these two guys being the world champion, and I've seen a comparison with Batista and John Cena from 2005 as our world champions, shown with Cody Rhodes and Seth as our world champions in 2025, and people are just saying that they aren't at the level, the main event level, of the champions of the past. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree. I think that Cody and Seth have been solid champions. I do think Cody will get even better whenever he does turn heel, and as for Seth Rollins, he was pretty solid, so I can't complain. With that said, I can see why fans think people like Batista, John Cena, The Undertaker, and all these bigger guys were better, because I do think they had more of a character and they did feel larger than life than Cody and Seth do. Samoa Joe's cousin says that turning John Cena heel was a good decision, as if WWE didn't do it, everyone would have complained we got the same old John Cena and his final run would have been stale. At least we got something fresh. I can't agree with this at all, because I think John Cena is at the point of his career, especially in his farewell tour, his retirement tour. He's at the point where nobody would have been unhappy with the fact if he stayed babyface. Even as a heel, he was getting cheered. Regardless if he was babyface or heel, John Cena was really not going to be booed during this run, and I don't think a single soul would have complained if he stayed a babyface. Staying with John Cena, Zayn says, I foresee John Cena making his frustrations known once his retirement tour ends on how it was handled. I doubt that's the case. I think internally John Cena might know that his retirement tour was kind of cooked because of TKO, Triple H, and The Rock, but at the end of the day, he respects WWE, the brand, way too much to ever talk crap about them, so I just can't see John Cena saying anything. Also, John Cena is extremely politically correct, and he never tries to say anything bad, so there's no way I can see him saying something about WWE. Steven says that John Cena needs to be the IC champion before he does retire. I've seen a lot of people say this, and I just don't understand the argument for it. We have to realize that John Cena was never the IC champion because he was always above that title. If you think about it, the guys that are stuck in the US or IC championship division are guys in the mid-card, but John Cena, after only 2 or 3 years, went to the main event scene, so there was no need for him to be the IC champion, and I feel the same way right now. He doesn't really need to win it. If he does, that would be cool, but I just don't understand all the hype surrounding John Cena becoming an IC champion. I just don't care. In the last John Cena hot take says that Gunther should not be John Cena's final opponent, and it actually has 94 likes, which is kind of surprising because I thought a lot more people would be excited to see Gunther take on John Cena in his final match ever. If we really think about Gunther, this guy always puts on a great match. He's a main event name, and I'm sure that it would be a great banger for John Cena to leave while also putting over somebody who clearly could use a win. It wouldn't hurt Gunther if he retired both John Cena and Goldberg. If anything, that would add more heat to him for whoever beats him down the line. So I really can't agree with this hot take. I guess people want to see Drew McIntyre. Honestly, if you really think about it, that match with AJ Styles should have been his last match ever. It was absolutely perfect. It is one of the greatest matches I've ever seen, and I hate Finisher Fest, but that worked so perfectly with the tribute to everybody. Sticking with Gunther, Gunther. This says that Triple H is wasting Gunther's prime years by literally not letting him wrestle on a weekly basis, even when he's not injured. And I made an entire video about this on why wrestlers are not wrestling as much anymore. You should watch that if you want to see an in-depth analysis on why that's the case. With that said, I don't like it either. I love the fact that in the old days of the Attitude Era, or even the Ruthless Aggression Era, you would see prime time matches. It was a blast to see guys like Undertaker versus Randy Orton on a Raw or SmackDown. Like, we need to go back to those days, because I don't believe in the idea that less is more. I say give us more. More is more, and allow these superstars to compete on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. It makes it must-see TV. Going back to Samoa Joe's cousin, this says that Jimmy Uso, if booked right, could have more potential than Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, and absolutely no way. Look, I do think Jimmy Uso has potential to be on Jey Uso's level, but I don't think he would be better than Jey Uso. And speaking of Roman Reigns, there's no way that Jimmy Uso would ever come close to the Tribal Chief. This man literally changed the entire business and brought it to levels we haven't seen in decades during that run from 2020 through 2024. So there's no way that Jimmy Uso would ever be better than Roman Reigns. I'm sorry, it's just a fact. Melvin says that AJ Styles should become the world champion one more time before he does retire. Look, I love AJ Styles, and I think his match with John Cena was absolutely phenomenal, but I do not think he needs to have the world title one more time, especially if he's going to retire next year. There's just no need for it. At the end of the day, AJ Styles can go on and have bangers with a bunch of people for one more year and then go ahead and ride off into the sunset. I honestly think the guy could wrestle for another few years because he's still not washed somehow. I don't know how he's this old and still not washed. With all that said, I don't think he needs the world title, because we got guys like Drew McIntyre, Gunther, even CM Punk, LA Knight, Roman Reigns, all of these guys, Randy Orton. I would rather see a world title run with those guys over AJ Styles. Speaking of LA Knight, this says that LA Knight will never be a world champion or main eventer. He's already a main eventer. If you think about it, he's showing up on Raw and wrestling in the main event scene all the time. So he's kind of a main eventer. But aside from that, I do think that he's going to be a world champion. I'm telling you, I think 2025, maybe even with the Seth Rollins injury, he might just slide into that world title picture. I would not mind at all if LA Knight became the world champion. If not, I think in 2026, he's got to win the Money in the Bank. If he does not, I'm going to crash out. But anyways, he's got to win the Money in the Bank and then cash in. The next hot take says that Rey Mysterio should be considered on the same star level as John Cena, Randy Orton, and Undertaker. And I think he is. I think a lot of people see Rey Mysterio in that tier of GOATs. You know what I mean? Like, I think the only reason we don't treat him that way now is because the guy's still a full-time wrestler and he's still moving like he's 30. It's absolutely insane, but I do think when he eventually does want to retire, we should give him a retirement tour, and hopefully that's going to be a nice run. Omar Harden says that Austin Theory needs to turn babyface and get a huge mid-card push ASAP. I'm all for Austin Theory turning babyface. I think he would thrive as a babyface, but I did see rumors that he might join the Vision, and I would love that so much. I do want to see him as a babyface, but we can hold that off because I think putting him with Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Paul Heyman would do wonders for his career, so hopefully we do see it. The next hot take says that Chad Gable is a top 5 in-ring worker of all time, and I gotta strongly disagree. You got AJ Styles, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Daniel Bryan, Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, and those are just 6 to name. There's plenty of more people better than Chad Gable. Is he awesome? Yes. Is he one of the best right now? Yes. But of all time, he comes nowhere near the top 5. And the last hot take says that The Rock is bald, and all I gotta say is yes. Anyways, that is it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you all in the next video.